Hello, in this video we'll be looking at issue 3 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine, how to paint the new Assault Intercessors we get, and we'll be showing them off in game and learning all about melee combat. Hello, I'm Mike, and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you issue 3 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine today. And in this issue, we got 3 Assault Intercessors for the Space Marines, as well as a pot of Magragge Blue, so that we can start painting them in the Ultramarines colour scheme. And if you'd like to see them in action, you can use a time code in the description or use the chapter bars to see them in the game. But first off, we'll have a quick look through the issue. So first up, obviously there's some background on the Assault Intercessors. So these are frontline Space Marine assault units. They fight in melee. You can see they're armed with chainswords and bolt pistols. And also some of the iconography they have. So on the left shoulder they have the Ultramarines chapter symbol, and on the right shoulder they have this sort of cross symbol, which shows that they are a close support unit. And then on the next page we have their battle record, so similar to the ones we've seen before. We can give them a name and a title. We can also give each individual member a name. As you noted on the previous page, Assault Intercessors usually come in squads of 5 or 10, so these are obviously the survivors of a damaged squad. There is some background on the Imperium itself. So the Imperium is thousands of years old, 10,000 years. Now it spans the whole of the Milky Way, but faces threats from the warp. There are demonic entities trying to fight the Imperium. But there's also alien foes like the Necrons. So the Imperium, mankind is in a state of constant war, purely for survival, not glory or conquest or anything like that. And you can see part of the Imperium here. There's 2 halves, the Imperium Sanctus, which includes Terra and Mars. It shows where Magragge and the Pariah Nexus are. So the Pariah Nexus is where we're fighting now, and Magragge is the Ultramarines' homeworld. There's also the Imperium Nihilus, and the Imperium Nihilus and the Imperium Sanctus are split in half by the Great Rift across the centre of the galaxy. And he also talks here about the Imperial faith, so the Emperor is also known as the God Emperor. But as long as he's there, as long as we have faith in the Emperor, the Imperium will survive. And it also talks more about the warp here, how it's the immaterial, hellish realm made up of energy, and it's sort of where souls go when people die, and is unfortunately necessary because it is how faster than light travel is achieved in this universe. There's a background on Necron tomb worlds. So these are the world millions of years ago the Necrons all went to sleep, but galactic shifts and events have caused these worlds to spread apart or be destroyed. In fact, some of them have been occupied by other races. And on the next page, it briefly talks about the chronoptic constructs you see, some of which we'll get with the magazine, that sort of oversee the Necron tombs and keep them running. It does note that being asleep for 60 million years does take a toll. So quite a few Necrons have either gone mad from being asleep or have been corroded or irradiated by whatever occurred on their tombs. Now we have a short story here about some Space Marine Assault Intercessors led by Sergeant Decius, who was in the previous magazine as well, fighting against some Necrons on the world Drakthir. And they struggle to fight against some Necron warriors until they meet up with a Primaris Lieutenant who is able to rally them. And as more Space Marines arrive, the battle for Drakthir will obviously continue. Now we can get to the build going for our Assault Intercessors, and they're fairly easy to push together. So you may want to glue them just to make sure they stay together. And also we got a new paint with this issue, so there's some more guidelines here, how to maintain your paint, so just making sure that paint doesn't build up underneath the sort of rim so that they don't dry up, and keeping them closed so you don't accidentally knock them over. And here he notes that you shouldn't overload the brush. If you get paint into the ferrule, which is the bit between the metal and the bristles, it can actually damage the glue and cause the bristles to fall out much quicker. The painting guide is fairly simple. It's very similar to painting the Necrons, just doing multiple thin coats over all of the armour of the Space Marines, and most of the model is armour, so take your time, thin some nice thin coats so you don't obscure the detail, and you're going over the Lieutenant as well. And on the next page you can see the finished models there. Don't worry too much if you go over any of the weapons or the shield or the tabard on the Lieutenant. We'll be painting those on a later issue. But with that look over, we can get into the game.
So now we'll be on to our game, Hold Them Back. So the story here is that 3 Assault Intercessors, who, as we saw earlier, are the remnants of a 5-man squad, have become cut off from the other Space Marines, and with their communication equipment not working, they have placed a locator beacon and are now going to try and hold out until reinforcements can arrive. Meanwhile, some Necron warriors have awoken, and they're going to try and disable the beacon so that the Space Marines cannot bring down reinforcements. So here's the setup of our board. We've got the 3 Necron warriors starting along one edge, about 2.5 inches apart as you can see there. One Assault Intercessor starts in the middle of the board, on point C. other intercessors starting on points A and B along the edge, and then an objective right in the centre between them, which represents the locator beacon. Next, we have a datasheet profile for our Assault Intercessors, and there's a couple of new stats that we haven't seen before up to this point. So as you can see, they have a move of 6 inches, like the Primaris Lieutenant. They have a stat called WS, which stands for Weapon Skill, which is how good they are hitting in melee, and that works the same as Ballistic Skill. That is to say, you need to roll the number in the characteristic or higher to score a hit. They have 2 wounds each, because they are superhuman warriors. They also have an attacks characteristic, which is how many attacks they can make in melee. And these work basically the same as shooting attacks, but it's listed in their profile rather than with their melee weapon, and they have a save of 3+ thanks to their armour. They also have a weapon which is their Astartes chainswords. There's also a new thing next to their weapon which is a type, and this is the sort of weapon it is. In this case it's a melee weapon. And there's also the profile for the Necron warriors, and there's actually a mistake here. It says they have 2 wounds and a 3+ save, but they should actually have 1 wound and a 4+ save, just like they did in the previous issue. As you'll see in a couple of pages, that is the correct thing. This is just a mistake, so ignore this where it says 2 wounds and 3+ save. Their Gauss Flayers have also gained a type characteristic, and it just explains they are shooting weapons that use 2 dice to make their attacks, with the procedure we saw in the previous issue. The first of 2 new rules in this issue is how to charge and how to fight in melee. We'll get to in a second, but first of all, looking to the right, there's a note on something called engagement range, and this is basically a 1-inch exclusion zone around models that you're not allowed to move into unless you are charging into melee with that model. So during most moves, as it says, you can't go within engagement range of an enemy model, meaning you have to stop an inch away, as it shows in the picture here. But what you can do is make a charge move when it's time to charge. Again, we'll see that in a second, but if an enemy model is within 12 inches, you can attempt to charge, roll 2 dice and add the numbers together, and then if the charging model is within that many inches, it can move into engagement range with the enemy. And that's a successful charge, but if you don't roll high enough to do that, then the charge has failed and you can't move at all. But that's only relevant for the Space Marine's turn, because as we'll see, the Necrons aren't allowed to charge, they don't have any way of fighting in melee yet, and the Necrons get to go first in this game, so here's their turn. Everything here is the same as it was in the previous issue, so they can just shoot 2 dice each with their Gauss Flayers, and the Space Marines have to make saves if they are hit. And there's just a picture here detailing the sort of starting turn for the Necrons. Once the Necrons have shot, then we're on to the Space Marine turn, and in the Space Marine turn they can move and then charge and then fight, and these are the phases that the Space Marines are allowed to do in this game. So they can move 6 inches as normal, but then they can declare their charges, and again there's a picture here giving an example of how that works. But then if any of the Assault Intercessors manage to make it into melee by making a successful charge, then they can fight in the fight phase. And this works basically the same as it does for shooting. You roll the number of dice equal to their attacks that they can make, any that equal or beat their weapon skill score a hit, and then the Necrons get to make armour saves. But the Necrons, remember, only have 1 wound and a 4+ save, as it does say here, so this is how we know that it's correct. Then the Necrons get their turn again, and there is actually an extra thing they can do, which is to fall back from melee. So if a Necron warrior is within engagement range of an Assault Intercessor, it can fall back, and that's the only kind of move it's allowed to do. It can move up to its full movement distance of 5 inches, but cannot shoot later in the turn. And you will note that the Necron turn only includes move and shoot. There's no rules yet for Necrons being able to fight back in melee. It's also not actually entirely clear, but in the full rules you're not allowed to shoot if you're within engagement range of enemy models, and it does sort of imply this by saying in the movement phase that the only thing the Necrons can do is fall back if they're within engagement range, but the thing to remember is that if they fall back, they cannot shoot. But then how do we win the game? Well, if you destroy all 3 of your opponent's models, then obviously you win the game. But the Necrons can also win by getting a Necron warrior touching the objective, and then if it's still there at the start of the Necron player's turn, then the locator beacon is destroyed and the Necrons win. So the Space Marines do have a turn to get rid of any offending Necrons. Alright, then it also suggests you could do a rematch by letting the Space Marines go first, which we probably would do anyway, so good to see that anyway. That's it for our little overview, so we'll set up the board and the models and then show you how the game plays out. Here we are with the Assault Intercessors defending their locator beacon, and the 3 Necrons lined up to oppose them. Now, the Necrons do get to go first, as it says, and I will follow the example to start with, so we'll move these 2 up, not their full distance, just a couple of inches each, but the one on the far end is going to move 5. Getting over to there. And then when shooting, it's best to do them one at a time, because if you roll them all once and do a stupendous number of wounds, then you're overkilling the Assault Intercessor effectively. So we'll start with this one down here, closest to the camera, shoot the one in the middle. So 2 dice hitting on 3s, we got 2 hits.
3+ save. Oh, failed 1 already, he's down to 1 wound.
Next we'll do the one in the middle, shooting at the same target, hitting on 3s, we've got 1 hit.
3+. Oh, failed, so the Assault Intercessor's killed, and there's still a Necron left to shoot.
So he'll shoot at the one closest to him over in the top right corner. We've got 1 hit.
3+. I made that save.
So that's the end of my turn. On to the Space Marine's turn.
And my turn. It's time to get some vengeance for our fallen brother. Oh, we forgot to say the name actually, but this is Intercessor Squad Carnos, or the remnants of it. So this one is going to move up 6 inches directly towards that Necron, and you can see he's just outside of an inch and outside of engagement range. And the other Intercessor will move up as well, closer to the middle. 6 inches gets him to the fold. Even though we have pistols, we can't shoot with them yet, so straight to the charge phase, where this Assault Intercessor at the top will try and charge this Necron. He can't possibly fail, because the minimum roll on 2 dice is a 2, and he's just over an inch away, but he gets an 11, so he's definitely in range. He can get into melee like that. And this Assault Intercessor will charge as well. He'll charge this Necron here. Slightly closer, I think. Again, rolling 2 dice. Getting a 10, easily enough. So I'll do their melee attacks. I'll start with this one who charged first at the top again. He's got 2 attacks hitting on 3s. Oh, he missed. The other Intercessor is going to attack the Necron warrior he's engaged with, getting a single hit.
And the Necrons do have a 4+ save, which I have failed, and 1 wound, so this Necron is destroyed. Then it's back to the Necron turn, and as mandated in the scenario, we will fall back with this Necron up here, as I don't really want to stay in melee with a target I can't actually hit anyway. And falling back, I can move 5, up to 5, but as long as I get outside of engagement range of any targets. And the other Necron is going to move 5 inches as well, getting to there. Then that one is a free to shoot, the other one fell back so we can't, and we'll shoot this one up to the top of the mat, needing 3s, getting 1 hit.
3+ save, failed, I'm not good at rolling 3s today, so that Assault Intercessor takes a wound.
But then we're back to the Space Marine turn.
So I'm going to move up, still have to stay an inch away, so I have to go sort of around the Necrons. You can't just move directly across like that, you have to go around the 1 inch exclusion zone. But they both have enough movement to get in the way of the Necrons. And then we'll start with the wounded Intercessor. He'll charge the Necron in front of him with a 10, that's easy enough to get him in range. And the other one will charge as well, 6 is enough too. And we'll start off melee combat with the wounded Assault Intercessor. 2 attacks hitting on 3s, he got a hit this time.
And a save on the 4+, nope, failed, so that Necron is destroyed.
And then the other Assault Intercessor misses.
So that leaves the Necron free to move again. So he'll get to there, and then fell back so he can't shoot.
And the 2 Intercessors will just move so that they're an inch away. And then they'll both charge the Necron. I'll roll the dice, even though it's going to be academic. The lowest roll was a 4, so they can both get into melee. And I'll just roll them both together because they've only got 1 target. So we have 4 attacks between the 2 Assault Intercessors, needing 3s to hit, getting 3.
And then a 4+ to save. I'll fail all 3 of them. I haven't made an armor save this game, so that Necron is also destroyed, and the Space Marines win the game. They've successfully protected their beacon. We'll set it up again with this setup and let the Necrons go first again. We'll do a best of 3, I think, of the standard rules, and then try letting the Space Marines go first as well.
Yeah.
So set up again, and the Necrons will go first again. This time, this one at the top of the board is going to advance, try and move further. So he rolls a 3, so he can add that to his move and go 8. So 8 inches gets him all the way over here. This one down here will move 5 up the board, and this one will follow. But then the 2 who didn't advance can shoot, so they will shoot at the one in the centre again. So we'll do them one at a time, so we'll do the one at the bottom of the board. It gets 2 hits.
2+ saves, made 1, failed 1, takes a wound.
And the other one, 2 shots. They both missed with 2s. And that's the end of my turn.
So in the Space Marine's turn, Assault Intercessor down the bottom is going to move up 6 inches, and he can get just over an inch away from the Necron warrior. This one in the middle will move up, so he's an inch away from the Necron warrior in the middle. And this Assault Intercessor will move like that. So he can't get round the board edge, he has to go around that way instead. And then there'll be charges, so I'll start off with the one at the top of the screen. He'll charge that Necron warrior. He's only an inch away, so it doesn't really matter what I rolled. I rolled a 5. This one in the middle will charge, once again, with 3. He only needed a 1, and then the other Intercessor at the bottom of the screen is going to charge the remaining Necron warrior. Yeah, 5 is enough as well. So we can engage all the Necron warriors, and then we'll start at the top with melee attacks. 2 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 1.
4+ save. Made a save at last.
Yeah, and then the wounded Intercessor in the middle, 2 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 2.
2 4+ saves, failed 1, so that Necron dies.
With the Assault Intercessor at the bottom, 2 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 2.
And 4s to save, failed both, so there's only 1 Necron left. This Necron will fall back, so coming round a little bit, 5 gets him to about there. But he can do nothing more because he fell back.
Yeah. I have actually pretty enough Intercessors that I can physically block the Necron warrior in. So I'll get 1 Intercessor like that, and 1 like that. The wounded one will bring up the rear, and then we'll charge all of them. Again, they're only an inch away, so it doesn't really matter. 5 will be enough for this one. He's not in base contact, but he can still fight because he's within engagement range. Intercessors down the bottom will charge. He gets a 4, which is still enough. And then the wounded Intercessor gets a 6, which is easy enough. I don't think there's actually enough space for the Necron Warrior to fall back. So I'll roll all the Assault Intercessors attacks. They've got 6 attacks between them, hitting on 3s, getting 5.
And then we've got 5 4+ saves. There we go, failed 2 of them. Yep, so another Space Marine victory. The Space Marines have won the best of 3, but we'll have one more go on this version, and then let the Space Marines go first.
See if the Necron Warriors can get a win.
Round 3, Necrons go first again. I feel like to have a chance I need to shoot a Space Marine dead straight away, so this time I'm not going to advance with anybody, I'm just going to move up, not quite within engagement range. 5 inches down the side, try and spread out a little bit. Start the shooting with the one at the bottom again, shooting the guy in the middle, needing 3s, got 2 hits.
3+ saves, made one, failed one, down to 1 wound.
And 1 in the centre shooting him, he also got 2 hits.
3+. Oh, made one, failed one, so he goes down.
And then the one at the top of the board will shoot at the one opposite him in the corner, top right corner. He got 1 hit.
3+, made it. Well, and then in the Space Marine turn, it's once again time for vengeance, and a 6-inch move, yeah, gets us exactly to the fold, which is very convenient. So they'll both move up 6 inches, and then they will both try to charge the Necron Warriors opposite them. So this one with a 4. So I suppose one thing worth noting, it is still worth rolling, even though he's an inch away, because you might be cases where you want to actually charge around your target. Not that that's too helpful in this case, but there probably will be in the future. So he'll move like that, so the Necron Warrior has to go around him, and the other Assault Intercessor will charge as well. He gets 6, yeah, he needs to get to about here. Then I'll start combat with the one at the top of the screen. 2 attacks hitting on 3s, getting a single hit.
4+ save, failed. Necron is destroyed.
And the other Assault Intercessor at the bottom of the screen gets 2 hits.
And 4+ save, failed both again, so that one was destroyed. So on to my turn, and I think the only hope really is for the remaining Necron to advance and try and get to the objective. So we'll roll our advance, or 6, that should be enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can go up to 11 inches with that, so we're going to go over here and stand on the objective. I have to remain there until the start of my next turn in order to destroy the beacon, so the Space Marines have to take out that Necron now.
So yeah, 6-inch move is still enough to get us an inch away. We will both charge, so the one at the top gets an 8, that's easy enough. And then the other one gets a 9. 4 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 3.
So I have to make all of these saves. Oh, failed all of them in fact, so the Necron is destroyed, and that's another win for the Space Marines. So yeah, they definitely won the main version of the mission, but we'll try the alternate one that it suggests with the rematch and let the Space Marines go first this time. So here we are again, but this time we'll let the Space Marines go first.
Yep, now we know that 6 inches is enough to get these 2 guys on the flanks to the centre folds, so I'll just move those up straight away. Then the guy in the middle, who doesn't get to do much except get shot at apparently, he'll get to an inch away from this Necron Warrior in the middle. We'll declare some charges, so I'll start off with this one at the top. He needs to roll a 6 on 2 dice to get within an inch of that Necron Warrior, so there's a chance he might actually fail this charge. He gets a roll of 5. So he failed his charge because that only gets him to here, and that means he can't move at all. I'll do the one in the middle. He only needed to roll was an inch away, so he can't fail. 4 inches enough to get him to there. And the Intercessor at the bottom of the screen, also going to need a 6. And he gets an 8, so that's enough to get him in combat with that Necron. So in the fight phase, I'll start off with this Intercessor, that's usually in the middle. 2 attacks hitting on 3s. He gets 1 hit on the Necron.
And 4+ to save. Oh, I made it.
And then the other Assault Intercessor at the bottom of the screen gets 2 hits.
And to save both. Oh, I did.
Oh.
But these 2 Necrons can only fall back, and we're going to have to go around to get out of here. So they will get roughly to here. And they are an inch away from the Space Marines, or more than an inch away. So that's. I don't know shooting's going to be that helpful because I've only got 1 model to shoot. So I think the one in the corner will advance just to try and get as far ahead as possible. And rolls a 5, so I can go 10 inches. So we'll go directly towards the objective doing that. And then, but no shooting for me because I either fell back or advanced.
This Intercessor at the top is going to move. He's going to move around. He can get to about here with a 6-inch move, so you can try and block off that Necron. This Intercessor in the middle is going to move into the middle of the board. And then this Intercessor here, he can't actually move through this gap because that takes him within engagement range of that Necron Warrior, so he can't pass through, so he's basically stuck on this side. So he's just going to move so he's an inch away. This Intercessor will charge this Necron Warrior, and the 9 is easy enough, so he'll move like that. So I'll do this Intercessor at the bottom next. He's actually going to charge both of these Necrons. because they're standing next to each other, and 6 is enough, so you can actually engage both of them. It's not very clear in the magazine what happens in this case, but effectively he would be allowed to split his attacks since he's in melee with both of them, similar to how you could split shooting attacks like in a previous issue. And this intercessor that's in the middle that's still engaged is actually going to try and charge this Necron warrior that's nearest the objective. So as long as he doesn't roll 2, and 8 is easy enough, he'll just charge like this. So I'll do the 2 intercessors fighting the lone Necron first. They have 4 attacks hitting on 3s. They get 3 hits.
Needs to make all his save. Oh, I did.
Blimey. And then the other intercessor, I will be greedy. We'll put 1 attack on each Necron. So I'll start with this Necron first, furthest from the camera. I hit that one.
Needs to save on a 4. Nope. So this Necron is dead.
And then the other Necron, I hit with a 4.
Need to save on a 4. No. So that one takes out 2. So then all I can do is fall back and try and get round to the objective. I think I can. I can't move through the Space Marine, but I can stay within engagement range as long as I end my move outside. So effectively do this, and that will bring me to there, which is more than an inch away, but touching the objective. But so then the Space Marines need to destroy that Necron. Yeah, so we're going to do some manoeuvring. This chap's going to stand over here. This chap will stand here. So that this one has space to get in. You just move 6 inches directly towards the Necron, and then we'll do some charging. So I'll start with this one with a grenade. Yeah, he's in. And this one, that was in the middle, or 2, that's still enough because he's only an inch away. And then this one, he gets a 6, that's easy enough. So they can all engage the Necron. And then we have 6 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 4. You made 3 saves, can you make 4 saves? Nearly, but not quite. So, also a Space Marine victory. Definitely a resounding success for the Space Marines in this mission. We probably won't play this one again because I think this version where the Space Marines go first is even harder for the Necron Warriors to win. So yeah, so that was our look at the game. We will give you our thoughts and recap all of that for you now. So that was the game from issue 3 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How do you think that went?
Don't think that's an unexpected outcome. Although I suppose I did roll fairly badly for my attacks in the first game, and if you rolled a bit better for your saves, you might have won out. But I do think it's because you falling back stops you from shooting. As soon as I get into melee with you, you can't fall back far enough that I would fail a charge. And also the really small board size as well. The longest charge I had to make was 6 inches, which on average I'd make anyway. So
yeah, I think the very first attempt was the closest I got. I probably should have advanced with one of my free Necrons, but again, yeah, that's just because you didn't roll very well. Yeah.
You might actually be better off shooting one of the intercessors that start at the back, so that then there's a flank free. And it isn't clear in the magazine. I mean, we've had them fall back every time, but I suppose there is a chance that a Necron warrior would survive in melee, and since the Space Marine player apparently isn't allowed to fall back, they're stuck in melee until they kill the Necron. So you could potentially hold the Assault Intercessors up that way, but
yeah, there's a lot of situations that could arise that aren't covered in the rules, like can the Space Marines fall back? Can the Necrons shoot in melee? It doesn't say that they can't, but it doesn't say that they can, but it just sort of implies that the Necrons are always going to want to fall back, so which they probably are, given the mission objective.
The Assault Intercessors didn't have too much trouble killing the Necron Warriors in melee, so and the Necron Warriors pretty nearly always are going to want to fall back, so it's sort of indirectly telling you just don't try and fight the Assault Intercessors in melee with Warriors. Technically, there is a fight phase in both players' turns in the full rules, and during the fight phase, every unit that is engaged gets to fight. So standing around in the Necron turn is a bad idea because I get to attack you again.
Yeah. It also doesn't have any way for the Necrons to fight back in melee. Normally, they would get some, admittedly not very effective attacks. But yeah, so the Necrons should have a weapon skill, and we'll find out what that is soon as well.
Things like charging multiple models as well.
Yeah, that's another thing that isn't really covered. Are you allowed to get within an engagement range of multiple models?
Yeah, I guess you could interpret the rules based on where you can split attacks with shooting. So you presumably do the same if you're in melee with 2 models.
So yeah, but obviously if you are new to the game, then it's obviously not giving you too much to think about at any one time, which is fine, but yeah, just in case you encounter any strange scenarios, then that's probably... we are only at issue 3, so there's still plenty more to be introduced, so it's not...
I guess we can talk about Assault Intercessors as well. Again, we won't go too deep into them, we'll get more of them soon enough and probably talk more about them then, but I wouldn't expect them to struggle with Necron Warriors. They probably will struggle with the other, more of the bigger Necrons, we'll see, but against Necron Warriors they shouldn't have any issues, at least in melee. melee, they'll probably get shot at. I imagine I'm probably going to lose a fair few Assault Intercessors over the course of this magazine from shooting.
And obviously, I'm sure you've noticed on their models, they do have some rather chunky pistols that are actually reasonably effective pistols, or at least against Necron warriors, but we'll learn how to shoot them as well soon.
Yeah, and talking about the Assault Intercessor models, these are from the starter paint set, so they are unique sculpts.
We will also get more Assault Intercessors, but I think actually these three are some of my favourite poses, actually. I like the guy with the grenade in particular.
Yeah, I do like the poses of all the Assault Intercessor sculpts, to be honest. They look really dynamic, look like they're actually doing something. Slightly annoyingly, they have the Ultramarines logo moulded on them. I've still gone for the Silver Templars colour scheme. They just assume they're transfers and they haven't had time to have that buffed out yet. You could always just file it off if you wanted to fit with whatever chapter you were going for.
Yeah, because all the other Space Marines we're going to get pretty much are all going to have bare shoulder pads where you can put your own designs. Well, the narrative we came up with the Silver Templars with the Conquest magazine was that, being a new chapter, there might well be some Ultramarines in their ranks as instructors or just to help out while they're getting started or whatever, so... And I suppose speaking about the painting instructions for them, obviously at the moment, again, like the Necrons, they're very basic. Just paint the bits blue that are going to be blue. And again, just like the Necrons, they will be getting more colours soon to make them more interesting. But you probably will have found them being rather chunkier than the Necrons. They're
the Space Marines are really easy to paint. They usually have very simple colour schemes, and they're basically all blue or whatever colour your chosen chapter is.
Anyway, I think that's it for this episode in this magazine, so if you enjoyed this video then feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Let us know what you thought of the games, what your thoughts on the models are and how the rules are developing, or if you're new and you played this game through, then let us know how you got on and how you found it. We'd be interested to know. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.